Today, my name is Chuck Christner. I'm a partner with RSM, a lead partner for public sector practice for the state of Indiana. So I want to especially welcome you here today, and for I think that what should be, and we hopefully a lot of planning and doing today as we work with the Board of Accounts and Paul and his team, everyone there. Really, we're here at their pleasure to try to partner with them to help kind of begin this process. So obviously this is an accounting training day, but we want you to feel comfortable to ask questions throughout the day and to really be kind of be engaged in the process. I guess roundtables help with that, but hopefully it's good. Those are in the back. Hopefully you've got all got a packet. I'll go through that a little bit, get to do the announcements, and then I'll turn it over to the instructors. But everything's in your packet. You will have the screen up here. We'll go through all of those slides and we'll work through them. But again, a lot of this is coming from your interaction. There are questions, cards you should have on your table or in your packet. So please jot things down as they come to mind throughout the day. And also, before I go through the other details, announcements, there, particularly for this, and to kind of help on a go-forward basis, at the bottom of one of your cards on the table, you're going to see a card, and there's an email address that's on there, and that email address is hj1009 at rsmus.com. It's a way to continue that. We wanted to venue so that you can ask questions and continue the discussion, because this isn't, we're not going to capture it all today. Again, welcome. There's a card on your sheets down. Take care of some administrative things, restrooms, breaks, which are always important. And then with lunch and when the food's here, there's obviously get up and get and drinks back there all day. There's question cards. And in those that are for CPE, there's evaluation sheets. Please complete those at the end and turn them in. And obviously for CPE, it's always good to get some CPE and some contact information. There is your agenda for today, which is in your packet also. And then the packet and list of slides for you to take notes of the team script today. So again, welcome and everything. Appreciate everyone's time here. It's a big commitment to be here and start this process. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful friend and partner, Ernie Almonte, and he's going to kind of take us from there and lead kind of as an MC throughout the day. All right, thanks, Ernie.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here today. I just want to introduce Paul in a second, just give a little reason why I'm really proud to introduce him. I used to be I'm an audit partner now at RSM, but I used to be the Auditor General for the state of Rhode Island, and I was the national president of all the state auditors. So I still continue to go to those meetings, and that's how I first got to meet your state examiner, Paul Joyce. So I just wanted, before he comes up, let you know a little bit about him. One of the great things I got to see was over a 17-year career being there. I got to see a lot of state auditors, and you get some that basically just tell people, hey, here's the law, just go forward and deal with it. And then you get to meet others like Paul, who really take it seriously about trying to help you to be successful. And it isn't just, hey, here's the law, go forward and do it. Think about what he's trying to do with all of you today. He brought us in with RSM and our team to help you, to educate you, to help you understand this new law and how to implement it. But he's dedicated himself and his whole staff a lot of time going to this event today. So at the end of today, you can walk away knowing more than you knew before you walked in the door, but maybe even more than that, knowing what, you either believe was true, was not true, or believing that there's an area that you need more work on. But I can tell you, we all as state auditors look to him for his national advice, and is a great advisor to many state auditors, much more than the state of Indiana, the impact he has. So I want to introduce to you your state examiner, Paul Joyce. It is wonderful to
I appreciate Ernie and RSM helping us do this, because this is something that is definitely going to impact all of you right now, and I think in the future it'll start impacting all the local governments in the state of Indiana. One of the things that the legislature did when everything passed this bill was they put a scapegoat in here that I could pass waivers. It was their way of, not really taking, I think, full accountability for requiring you guys to go out and do this. And they put it in there, I think, honestly, as a safeguard in the long run, if at some point in time, maybe a local government unit really can't do this. There's something that gets in the way. I mean, they, you know, we're doing everything possible, and we are working toward this. We just didn't quite get that done. So the waiver part, and I want to point that out very early, it's going to be a very rare occurrence. It's not intended that anybody will be receiving waivers. And I do have to take a hard stance on that, because I would tell you that I've been contacted by SP and Moody's both, asking how often waivers will be put out there, because it will affect you guys if you get a waiver. Your bond ratings for your communities will be affected. There's a lot of people looking at this. We know that you guys probably didn't drive the legislation requiring you to go to this kind of reporting. But it is the loan industry, the bond industry, the people that are giving you money that are wanting their financial statements presented in a GAAP format. So the importance can't be, is not going to be, I guess, underestimated in this. It is very important that each and every one of you learn what you need to do and then find out the best way to get there. And RSM is one of the people that said, what can we do? They came to us when we were in discussion for something else and said, what else can we do to help you do your job? And part of our job, as you know, is helping you do yours. And these people right over here are most of our art directors that work with you either on a regular basis or you call on a regular basis. And I'll start out with Tammy White, which is one of my deputy state examiners. And Tammy's been around with the counties a long time. And so she's a very helpful resource. And then I was going to make Tammy go ahead and introduce everybody, but we have Lori Rogers with counties. So if the counties have any problems or questions, as you're going through this process, make sure you talk to the board. Chase is here representing schools. Right now, Chase is our only person that is representing schools. We used to have another one, which is Brian Preston, but he was stolen by the Herb Board. So Chase gets left with that duty. Debbie Gibson is next to Chase. Debbie is she's the director for all of our office directors. And you've been around counties. Debbie's been with counties for a long time. We used to work there with Tammy when Tammy was there. So we use her as a resource. We have Ashley Palmer next to Tammy. She works with our procured audits, which are the entities, most of them not-for-profits, but many of them now are some of the other local governments that go out and get some of their audits on their own. So they'll be working a lot with Ashley. Jennifer Marshall. See Jennifer Marshall, she also works with Ashley, but she's not in the room right now. Then we have Nikki Knipp. I had to put that out there. Nikki is actually one of the people in our office that's going to work on GAAP accounting. And so she's going to become our GAAP accounting expert as we go through this. So she's definitely in the long term going to be the asset that everybody will be using before. Next to her is Susan Gordon. Susan works with cities and towns. She's a director there. She's a CPA. She's also an attorney. She's also Nikki's mom. Definitely see the resemblance, but she's a very good resource for cities and towns. And next to her is Todd Caldwell. He also works with cities and towns and has been there now for a long time and a very good resource there. And then next to Todd is Stephanie Heath. Stephanie works with Lori in counties, and Stephanie came there probably less than a year ago. Prior to that, she worked on our special investigation unit, and then prior to that, was working on a lot of higher counties, a lot of high-end audits. All of them bring a wealth of knowledge to our office. The majority of our office directors, other than Chase, you can see that I've been there 30 years. Not Chase, not Nikki, not Ashley. Okay, you can see the ones who've been there 30 years. But they've been there a long time, have a wealth of knowledge, and are a great asset for you all to utilize on a daily basis if you need so, and as you go through this process, so that's real important. So with that, I really want to thank RSM, and we'll go ahead and get going on our public hearing.
Thank you very much. Well, again, good morning, everyone. Just a quick comment because Paul mentioned that Chase, I work with Chase, got hired by another organization. Chase gave me a ride yesterday, and Paul gave me strict instructions I could not hire him. You can start another year at this place. But again, welcome, and just again, a little background to all of you. My name is Ernie Lamaki. I'm the water partner at RSM. I'm used to be water general for the state of Rhode Island. I've been through this before. In the state of Rhode Island, we made a change, uniform accounting method, and we changed it for all the schools throughout the state. And we also did a change in from cash basis to accrual. So the thing that I always try to tell people is, and I have 5 sons. You might hear that a couple times in my conversation. I start all the time by saying, you always have to define, how do you define success? And so to me, for all of us here, how do we all define success at the end of the day? You should be able to walk away with this newfound knowledge on how to make this conversion from cash to accrual. But we're going to talk about why all these things take place, and we're going to give you advice on what to do. But we're also going to let you know that some areas are pretty complicated. You're going to have to deal with, whether it's receivables, say tax receivables. Some of those areas are going to be pretty tough to go back and find out what those receivables are and how collectible they are. You're going to have some issues, whether it's infrastructure, trying to determine what the original cost is and how to account for that. I served for 5 years as a head of audit for the whole Department of Defense at the Pentagon. We had to figure out the cost of, say, West Point when it was actually traded for beads from Indians and try to determine what the cost is. So sometimes you're going to go through records. It's going to be incredibly difficult to figure out these things. We're going to give you advice on that. But you're also going to see on your table, you see this folder. And it says the power of being understood. And I've been at RSM for 3 years, and it's not a sales pitch. I just want to let you know. It's more than a tagline to us. And today, you can prove it to yourself, this power of being understood. If you have questions today, you certainly have the people in the room today that can help you answer those questions. So I ask you to challenge us any way you want, and make sure before you leave, if you have a question, either ask us verbally, take us to the side and ask us. Because one of the things I've learned since I've been here is the partners that I work with and the staff that I work with certainly understand, even unconsciously, the curse of knowledge. And by that I mean, a lot of times you could have a conversation with people and we assume that you know what I know. And we might use acronyms, we might use any bit of information just assuming you know. And you walk away saying, I don't know what the guy you're talking about. Say, well, one of the things when you know about the curse of knowledge is, and realize that people learn many different ways. Some learn verbally, some learn written, some learn by actually going through an example. We all learn differently. So challenge us, ask for an example. However you want to learn, there's other people in this room that need to learn that as well. So challenge us today. You will see the power of being understood by our team here. I said it before, I want to say it again. I want to thank Paul and his team. They put a lot of time into getting to where we are today to do this presentation. So let's start out with, I always say the 5 whys, because I have 5 sons, and no matter, every time I talk to them, everyone kept saying, well, why that? Why that? Why that? So I figured, let's start with that. I served as and I should say before we move on about the 5 whys. I come from Rhode Island, and I work in Boston, so the Red Sox won last night. So I'm very happy today to get another day. But for the changing of the slides, and I'll introduce our team tomorrow, but Mike's going to change the slides. And the thing I worked out with him was that I would do this to change the slides. I said the old high school steel sign. And the only reason why I tried to do it now is because no one ever gave it to me when I played baseball. They're like, just stand at base and don't move. So now I use it because I feel like I get the right to steal. But you would be able to go have lunch and still probably wouldn't make it to second base. But we're going to use that to change the slides. But here, let's go to the 5 whys. And there may be more than 5, but I always challenge people, whenever you're doing your work, you should try to ask why 5 times to get to what the real meaning is why you're doing it. So let's go back to the first one. I used to serve as a Gatsby advisor. So for many years, Gatsby, when they changed the governmental accounting standards board, and when they would want to change standards, they would invite me in and a group of other people to talk about what they wanted to achieve. First thing I always say is, how do you define success? What is it you're trying to achieve here? With this, what we're talking about today, sitting in the room many times with the bond advisors and the rating agencies. The rating agencies and the bond holders, or people representing the bond holders, were very concerned that cities and towns and states and other entities were using the cash basis. And the cash basis was not giving a true picture of the financial condition of a community. It could be manipulated pretty easy. And what I always suggest is, for all the ones that actually do it, and you're using it now, is like, if you're spending all this energy to prepare financial statements that the rating agencies don't really believe in, the bondholders are questioning, decision makers know could actually be manipulated by delaying money coming in, or increasing money coming in, or not paying a bill to a certain time, at a certain time, you could actually manipulate what the finances are. The comment I always said was, I refer to that as, you might as well, we shouldn't be watering weeds and spending all this energy to produce a document that doesn't have value to many people, including your bondholders. So I see how we got to this point, that there would be this push to change. So that's the first law. Gatsby says that's the highest level of what you should use to use your financial statement. The next law, I released to all of you, well, I mean, obviously there was a statute that was passed. Again, being a prior auditor general, I know all the work that gets involved for a law to make it to the end to be finally passed, and so it is a law now. So if you don't do it, you're in violation of state law. So there's a second one. You want to be in compliance with state law. So there's your other why it should be important to be here and learn about this and make this change. The other why is, well, it would affect the opinion on your financial statements. I mean, obviously, if accrual is the way that you're supposed to present your financial statement, anything that's modified from accrual would give you a little ding on your financial statements. And I can tell you, if the rating agencies are pushing so hard for this, it could affect your rating, it could affect your interest rate, which could cost your taxpayers more money if you don't comply with it. So the rating agencies do care about it, and if they didn't care, why are they asking for how many waivers are you going to give up? They are concerned about it. I learned from my whole career, they truly are, and the way they get you is change your rating, and which is increasing your interest rate, which affects your taxpayers. There's another big block. So I already told you, tax opinion, legislature, ratings, the bondholders, and the Gatsby advisors. So there's 5 whys. Why should you do this? The next thing I just want to let you know is that the team, and I'm going to introduce them, well, I'll tell you the agenda, and then I'll introduce the team. If we can, so if we can look at this. So what you're going to see today is, and there are cards in there that tell you about breaks and things, so you'll know them, but we're going to talk about an overview of full accrual, so you know what it's all about. Oh, excuse me, introduction of the state board, an overview of the full accounting and reporting of government, a review of governmental GAAP, component units, fund accounting, and transactions. The RSM team is here, and I guarantee incredibly knowledgeable about it. Challenge them, ask questions, whatever you want, so you walk away understanding. Then in the afternoon, we're going to talk about preparing GAAP financial statements, and then we're going to have a panel. So throughout the day, as you're going through the day, if you have questions, stop writing them down. If you don't take this aside during the day, write it down. And there's going to be an email you can send to us questions. I'll be moderating the panel. Questions can come to me. You can raise your hand and ask. You can send an email. We already have a list of them that already came in. And I'll ask the panel. So you're going to get your first hand from the technical experts what the answer to the question is. So use today as a great day to ask whatever questions are on your mind. And then we're going to have a wrap up. We'll be around a little bit afterwards. So if you want to take us aside and talk to us about how you can go back and make changes within your own community. But also keep in mind, as I said before, they have an understanding of press and knowledge. And one thing I've seen is the patience. There's different ways to present information to you. So even if the way we present it to you from this stage today, you don't get it, pull us aside and have a conversation. Because maybe by giving you a different example, we can help you to walk away understanding what to do there. So I'm going to introduce our team. We already met Chuck this morning, audit partner at RSM. He did the opening introduction. He's here. Joe Evans on the end, right over here. Mike Java, right here, the hand on the slides for us, but he'll be involved in this. He's our audit senior manager. Linda Abernathy, who's right over here. And we include the next one. John, who's behind me, John George. Audit partner, you already know me. Kelly, who's over there, and Bill Saab, who's on this side right here. So we're all here from RSM, so you can just come up and ask us any questions that you want. So let's talk about our firm a little bit, and I'll do this quickly because you're not here to really learn a lot about it, but you can learn a lot of things. We are an audit tax and consulting firm. We're the 5th largest in the United States, 6th largest in the world. We have over 90 years of service. We have nearly 10,000 employees, 90 offices across the nation. We have over 500 public sector clients. We do the first in Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. We have a regional practice including Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Today, our objective, how do we define success? What do we want to achieve at the end of the day? We're going to describe the new law changes and how it's this new HEA 1009. We're going to review accounting practices. We're going to explain GAAP for governments. We're going to identify requirements for full accrual. We're going to talk about and show you about preparing a full accrual financial report. And our focus is primarily on general principles, talking about counties, schools, and municipalities. That's what you will get out of today. We have continuing professional education for those that need it. So you can see that we all know there's certain requirements in order to get this. So you're going to get 6 hours. You must be present. You have to sign in. If you haven't already signed in, please sign in the front. You have to give your email and your signature, and be sure to sign out when you leave. And please complete the evaluation. You may not know that, but in order to get CPE, there needs to be a certain percentage of the evaluations that come in. So please fill them out because that's what we need for all of us to get CPE. And then you'll get your CPA certificates. They'll be emailed to you. I believe that's the last thing. So Paul. So thank you for your time. Paul.
As Ernie said, this is based on House Bill 1009. And just so everybody knows, we did not pass House Bill 1009. Legislature. That's a real important point, but it does require us to do full financial statements, accrual financial statements. It's a lot different than the regulatory statements that you currently perform. As you know, these regulatory statements, you basically fill out your AFR. It gets pumped out for you whenever we would go in there and do the audit. Basically, it's done. It's a lot different than this. With this, you're going to have to do your financial statements and hand them to us. According to 1009, you can't issue any bonds without a GAAP-based report after August 15, 2020 for schools and after June 30, 2020 for counties. For schools, June 30, 2020 financial statements must be in full compliance, and other government units for December 31 of 2009, they must be in full compliance. I issued in 2016 one a state directive that dealt with this bill. And then I have a copy of it here. We actually issued it on August 29th, 2018. It directed you basically that for schools, August 29th is your deadline for your AFR. November 30th is your deadline for GAAP. For cities and counties, March 1 for your AFR, May 31 for your GAAP reporting. Without meeting those, you have to have a waiver. Again, I'm going to talk about the waiver because the only way somebody's going to get a waiver is if you're working toward your GAAP statements. If you're showing a solid effort for doing your GAAP statements. If you just come and say, I don't want to do them, you're not getting a waiver, and your financial statements will not receive an opinion that will be favorable to your bond ratings because they're not going to be there. So it is something you have to do. Don't think this is something going away. And it's not that I'm being harsh. The legislature passed this, they intend for you to do this. The bond rating agencies intend for you to do this, but they rate you as an entity that receives bonds. So it is not going to go away. Currently, most of you do the cash-based financial statements. A couple of you do accrual statements. In the cash-based, they focus on receipts, purchases, revenues, and expenditures. The reporting by department or functions, they don't necessarily have any modified or accrual, and they're not full accrual. You currently don't maintain asset and debts that is reported within your financial statements. Some of you do maintain the assets, they're just not reported in your financial statements. It's going to be a lot more difficult for cities and towns. You have a lot more infrastructure than a school has, or even the county has. That infrastructure is part of your asset. It's going to have to be accounted for. This will, currently you don't have required supplementary information in GAAP-based accounting and reporting. You will have to have supplementary information. Supplementary information, as you'll find out later, covers things like debt schedules, pension note disclosures. It's a lot of disclosures that have to go in there. And in a GAAP audited report, it's not supplementary information like it's unaudited. This is audited supplementary information. Currently, you might have footnotes that don't follow GAAP reporting. They're going to have to follow and meet the disclosures. And defining financial statement, you do currently present a lot of time defining financial information. And in what you will also have to do is look at the component units you have. Currently, we don't feel that they're consistently addressed at local governments. It may be like if you're in a county, you might have an airport authority, or if you were a hospital, you might have a health association. There's a lot of component units, even component units may have to be taken into consideration in school corporations because of ECAs that run through them, and some of them maintain their school lunch in ECAs, because rent on ECAs, and sometimes that can be material. So you have to take that into consideration when you're doing that. Benefits of full gather approach. You track the movements of cash. But in that alone, cash alone, it isn't necessarily a measure of performance because you're going to have receivables and payables that you'll now be showing. It can actually show what's going on in the government unit. If you hold bills, if you result in a big variance, even back when I started 27 years ago, one of the universities, at the end of the year, they didn't pay anything for the last month because they wanted to show a large cash balance. So it really was, it showed a material discrepancy back then, and it's no different today. It can make a big difference on how you report. In this, you would be showing that anyway in the full world. Accounts, you have to account for restrictions. Disclosures actually provide a complete picture of the government unit for investors. That's where the S&P, the Moody's, different rating agencies come into place, saying, are you reporting your financial statements in the manner that when people look at them, interested users, are they getting the information they need to make a sound financial decision? The component units will be addressed. The majority of the people, and I agree, GAAP-based financial statements do promote more transparency. The downside, they do also require more work on an effort on your part. By doing this, as more government units come on, you will be more comparable between government units. Some of the issues I think you're going to run into is that, it is going to be capturing the data. As mentioned earlier, I think personally, accounts receivable is going to be extremely hard data to capture. It's, from a county standpoint, you're going to not only have to capture your own, but you're also going to have to share with your other local government units what their anticipated receivables are based on what you're believing the collectability of those issues are. And they're all not going to be the same. Collectability rates up in Lake County are around 52%. Down in Hamilton County, they may be up as high as 80 to high 80%. So it's not an all equal. You have to find that out. It has to be a rational number, and you have to be able to document why you're using it. Many times this is going to cause a system change. And of course, anytime we have a system change, it's going to increase your cost. That's something we will address this afternoon on panel of the cost involved in maybe even changing the financial system that you're currently using, the one that can manage this, all the way to hiring a consultant that may be able to come in and assist you. And there's a lot of consultants in this world. And, I appreciate RSA for doing this, but I will point out they are not the only consultant in the world. There are a lot of consultants. And it's about getting it right at the end of the day. And so we want to make sure that if you don't feel that you're capable of doing this on your own, unfortunately for you, we can't do it for you. We don't have a staffing level to do it, and the independent standards that we have to follow as an accounting and auditing agency dictate we can't do your work and audit your work. And as you know, we audit your work. So we can't be the ones who come and do this for you. So you're either going to have to do it yourself or hire a proper consultant to come in and help you do that. Some of the changes that will come into play are the chart of accounts and fund structure. We've been working on this a while with school corporations. Chase Lennon has been working on that. For the most part, cities and towns and counties, I think it can be modified into these bases, but it is something moving forward that we definitely have to look at on that. There is a very, very high potential of new personnel. It was very much discussed at the time this law was passed. It will cost you. And sometimes that means you may be going to have to hire on your staff either somebody that's educated in accounting or a CPA. That might be the requirement that you need to get you to that world. And just because you hire a CPA doesn't mean that person is going to be able to do everything you need. They may still need to hire a consultant to do it. And I'll use the city of Evansville as an example. And I think Evansville here, right? There we go. Well represented. They have, how many CPAs you guys have on staff? I mean, I know 4 at least probably.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
4 or 5. And, it's a big city. And they still use consultants. And so you can't just say, well, I'm going to hire a CPA, it's all going to be done and everything's great. I mean, we're all not that great. We need help. Okay, so don't think hiring one person answers your question. Okay, because that might not be the end of it. And as I asked earlier already, what's it going to cost? I don't know. But it's a lot of that's going to depend on what you have done already. Who on your staff do you have? Are you going to have to buy a new system? How much do you want a consultant to do? There's a big variance in there on whether it's going to cost $0 or $1 million. I can tell you that easily the implementation, when they discussed it when 1009 was passed, the numbers thrown around between some of the times the hardware cost and the initial thing was well into the $100,000 range. That it could potentially easily cost the government unit. And that was discussed in the public comment section. In the public comment section whenever 1009 was going through. So cost is definitely something that's there. That's the potential new personnel that doesn't come in there. As I was mentioning, the cost may cause you to buy a new accounting system just to implement this. A lot of times regulatory is not going to handle it. Accumulating new data such as fixed assets. I say a lot of people do this already, but they don't do it to the level they need to do it at. Back when we were doing GASB 34 statements, everybody remember those? Not very many hands, it's not good. A lot of school corporations would hire a consultant to come in and do an asset evaluation. They would come in once every 2 years and they were doing an audit. Well, that's not really sufficient, It's something that we need to maintain, you know, in perpetuity of the entire life cycle of your energy, which is forever. So it's not only identifying your old buildings, but identifying all your new ones, and remembering to capture everything you get rid of. And then we're going to have to learn depreciation, and learning depreciation on older assets is much more difficult than learning depreciation on new assets. And of course, it is a more complex reporting model, and therefore it will increase the audit time that we spend at your audit site doing the audit, because it's a more complex audit, which in the long run means that it will cost you more. So there's another cost that we're going to have to include. With that, I am going to turn it over to RSM and let them go